Stand up for a moment, please, actually. Thank you.
Yes, right.
Just sort of come over to the dark corner here.
Right, yes.
I used a phrase of yours on television today, the digital darkness. I don't know if you heard it. But in my area of Mid-Devon and in large parts of other rural areas, there's no mobile signal coverage, and there's the poorest of poor broadband signal, which is absolutely atrocious. It's really affecting the local rural economy. It does awful things for rural isolation, and it means that families can't watch on-stream films or apply for jobs or any of the things they need to do here. So I've got some of the comments. I set up a little petition, and some people signed some really good comments and comments there. I also set up an online petition, and guess what?
Because they couldn't fill it out because they didn't have
people couldn't even get online to fill it out, so people were saying this sort of thing. But it's a very real problem, and I just thank you very much for. I've got a photograph of you looking at it now, which is this. If we go back to our place,
you hope. Yeah, I think so.
My first question
You've only just met the man.
Yeah, so I'm bossing around already. The first question is about 4G and mobile. It really is serious not having mobile signal in our area. You know the examples of farmers working in the field, serious road traffic accidents, and emergency services can't be called. We don't have 3G. A lot of people are thinking that 4G might be the way forward. Have you got any assurances you can give me on that?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, there's a delivery of broadband, isn't there, with Devon and Somerset, which we've had problems because we were going to have another contract with BT, and then the contract was not good enough, the timescale was not right, and the value for money was not right. So that one has not been signed, and we've gone back to renegotiate. A lot of money has gone in from councils and government. More money will go in. The problem I've got with it is the time scale, and we need to speed it up. And there is a link between the mobile phone coverage and potential broadband, because we can also use, as you probably know, in Exmoor and Dartmoor, they're actually going to use a wireless connection rather than the fibre optic cable. And so, for instance, the Blackdown Hills, which is sort of just on the edge of Mid-Devon, and a lot in East Devon, I want that treated again as a bit like Dartmoor and Exmoor, to look at the wireless solution. So what I want to see come out of this next contract that Devon and Somerset let is a much more flexible approach. I'd like to see more companies involved. Trouble is BT, actually I'm not anti-BT, but I am anti them when they're not delivering. I keep saying to BT, if you had lots of other companies biting at your, at your bottom, then you would be delivering a lot quicker. And the same, there's also money out there to encourage the mobile phone companies to put up more masts. There's also the issue, and I don't know how you find locally sometimes when it's difficult for people to accept masts, but I think, on all that we've all got to work hard, because there is a connection between the mobile phone network and the delivery of broadband. They are both interconnected. Some places will get the fibre optics cable and it will work, other areas won't. And that will need to be wireless connection. The only problem with wireless connection is you will not get the very fast speeds in the future, but hopefully technology will increase on that. And of course, it's not only about applying for jobs, applying for being able to see the latest films, it's also, from my point of view, it's the filling in of the forms by the farmers. Because the DEFRA's got the rural affairs bit, you see, I can do an inquiry into rural broadband, because broadband is not really mine, it's culture, media and sport, but because I can put rural in front of it, we should definitely have an inquiry, because I've been very outspoken, as you probably know, on the whole issue, because it's not being rolled out fast enough, and we're not getting enough competition in there to deliver it faster. And also, you see, BT have, in fairness, they have got some different technologies that they can use rather than just the fibre optic cables, but they're very slow in rolling them out. And so all these are issues. So, I'm glad that you're working very hard on it. Be assured that we are working on it, because from my point of view, we've had government money put in, we've had council money put in, and then when I go around, campaigning, I've got everybody complaining to me, quite rightly, that they can't connect to broadband. So it's an alive an issue for me as it is for you. But I think it's something where, and I think the district councils, we've got to get a closer working relationship if we can between the county council and the district on this issue. I'm not blaming anybody for this, but I think we've got to pull people together, because I just think that a lot of the areas there's going to have to be a bit more of a local solution than there is going to be sort of just one major contract to deliver, and I think that's what we're working hard on. So you've got all your necessary photographs now of me, so you're fine.
Thank you. I would like to come back on something, if I may. The first thing, I totally agree with you, and I did like a rough calc in my area, that there's 35% of the active local economy is actually involved either in working from home or from farms, and all sorts of industries, with information, holidays being sold, and it's a very productive area, and we mustn't be ignored because of that. I've also spoken to some people today who are looking at other solutions, and they say that in a way connecting Devon and Somerset has struggled by being hampered with the monopoly of BT, which has narrowed everything down to one particular technology to be used. Now, like you, I want this broadened out. I think there's lots of community approaches that could be made. There's some fantastic examples going up in Cumbria. There's in Norfolk, there's the Y Spire, there's all sorts of other, using church towers and things like that. Now, what concerns me is, do you think that CDS is capable? This is the third attempt they're on now to negotiate a contract. The open tender failed, the closed tender failed with BT, and now they're renegotiating for the third time. I mean, come on, what's happening here? And at the moment, Devon and Somerset are the only two counties who have not yet got phase 2 contract in place, and that's really concerning me. And I know, and I hope you're going to be involved in a meeting, a special scrutiny meeting with Devon County Council on the 3rd of September. Are you going to, simple yes or no, will you be involved?
I will try to be. I'll have to look at
I do hope you are. And do you realise that when you go to that meeting, it's a very private and closed meeting. It's just BD UK, CDS, couple of MPs, a couple of people, all the rural stakeholders, the 14,000 small businesses in this area really are struggling, and normal people like us, they're not getting a look in, they're not going to be asked or questioned. So my plea to you is, please, can you be aware of this, and can you open it up, because most of us do not know what is happening. We're being overwhelmed with techno talk, and it makes us think, oh my God, I don't understand what's happening. And so we need to have people who trust, and when they give us a date, they mean it. For goodness sake, it's not beyond the wit of mankind to roll out this fibre, goodness, whatever it is, snaky stuff.
There is, you're right about the technologies. I mean, I understand quite a bit of it, but I don't understand all of it by any means. And so there's fibre to cabinet, then there's the small cabinets that you can put on poles and others. So there's ways that you can broaden it, and it's your distance from the cabinet, all these issues. Some areas won't ever. The cost of getting the cable there is just beyond it. So those will have to have different solutions. In fairness to, I think because Devon and Somerset, and Devon in particular, is such a vast county, it's been a hell of a contract to let. And in the end, you see, it was only BT that bid. The other bidders removed.
No, could I just come in on that? In November 2014, there were 26 other bidders, and they were stood down by Devon County Council, who then decided to deal exclusively with BT.
Yeah, but I think you'll find that they were looked at. Now, what we got to be sure of, and I want to see the contract let on a much area by area rather than one vast contract, because I just don't think. I also think that BT also were completely overstretched as well. I think literally from a manpower point of view, and I think there's been major issues there. But I'm not. I think I think it's too easy just to say, well, you know, the delivery of broadband is all down to you know the faults that Devon and Somerset County Council put together. I don't think it was. I think there's lots of blame in lots of places, and I think BT did act as a monopoly, and we did not get the decent deal. I mean, the reason why the final contract wasn't signed was because BT just did not offer value for money or the timescale. And so now, I hope finally that we've learnt our lesson.
No, in fact, if I could slightly contradict you there, BT, who are carrying out phase 1 at the moment and still have the contract for that, and they explain their problems with phase 2. They try to ameliorate the fact that we didn't come up with enough money by saying that they would use existing workforce involved on phase 1 to carry on with the phase 2 work. But it would go back 12 months. So they tried to cut costs by doing that. Now, a problem we've had here is that CDS, in trying to raise funds, which they had to do, was match funding. Apparently, when they came to the district councils, they didn't release, the district councils quite obviously said, well, okay, tell us who's going to get it, what, where and when, which of our council taxpayers, and BT wouldn't allow them to release that information. They said it was confidential. For goodness sake, they're a monopoly. Nobody else was in competition with them.
No, I mean, there was a confidentiality clause signed, when the contract was put in place, and that was one of the problems with the existing contract. But you see, from the point of view, it's no good to BT. I'm not going to pour more and more money. I'm not going to say we should pour more and more money into BT until we know we're getting value for money. And one of the problems is we haven't seen the money that BT is supposed to be putting into the original contract.
Yes.
So therefore, I mean, in some ways, I think we're in a better position, though it doesn't look like it, from the fact that we now have got the one contract in place which BT need to deliver on. Because I mean, what I wasn't convinced of either is if they wanted to take the first contract and then say, right, well, those areas they might have done originally, but they're too difficult now, so we'll put them into the second contract. This way, at least we should get value for the first contract and be absolutely certain they're not passing part of the problem of delivery of broadband into the most difficult areas into the second contract, which is not necessary. And that's why it's such a conundrum. But the only people that were out there in the end to deliver on the scale of those contracts were BT, and that is